Ojibwe language by Emily Rademacher. So, a brief history of the language is it's not actually one language, but a series of dialects, and there's no prominent one language. Each dialect varies in grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary. Ojibwe is a heritage language of more than 2,000 Ojibwe people. The language extends from Quebec to Ontario and down into Minnesota and Michigan and down into the Great Plains. The language is endangered much like many other Native American languages. There's my picture. So, I had to break the grammar and vocabulary into two parts. Ojibwe is a polysynthetic language, which means it exhibits a great deal of synthesis and very high quantity of morpheme to word ratio. Ojibwe is notable in the fact that the language does not borrow from other languages. Most speakers will prefer to create new words or contexts for words that haven't been used yet. One example is in Ojibwe from Minnesota, the word for airplane is Bimesingmabgak, which means the thing that flies. It also has two forms of third person and two forms of gender. The forms of third person are proximate and obvitative. Proximate is just standard third person, while obvitative is essentially a fourth person, but actually is a lesser third person. So an example would be Bill and Harry are meeting and he hasn't seen him in a while. They would just decide who was the proximate by who was more important in the sentence, Bill or Harry. And gender in Ojibwe is distinguished by animate objects and inanimate objects. Ojibwe believe that things have souls or spirits, so when they consider it to have a soul or a spirit, it is more animate than inanimate, and rocks is a primary example. Numbers, nouns, and pronouns can be singular or plural verbs, and verbs depend on their singular or plural depending on their number or object. There are 7 Ojibwe inflectional categories containing gender/person combinations depending on plural or singular. Now the writing system is more of a syllabary, which was created by James Evans, a missionary working in the Hudson Bay area. He created it out of 9 symbols, which can be used 4 different ways depending on the vowels. Some features of the writing system include direction of writing, which is left to right in horizontal lines. Finals are used to write standalone consonants, and there are many variations of the symbols, again depending on the vowels. There's the writing system. And yes, this grammar in language and everything differs very much from English, but current Ojibwe speakers have adopted some of the grammar usage, such as capitalizations and periods. They like to use multiple words for one major word, kind of like German. And I think it does give a different pattern of thought or worldview because they'd rather come up with new words than borrow from another language. They also believe that their language is very important to pass down to their generations below, and without the language, they wouldn't be able to pass on their history or anything. And then here is my works cited. I apologize for it being really short and for my stuttering and anything else. But I actually really enjoyed researching all of this, and I would kind of wish I could do more. But there's the whole thing. I have my pictures, and thank you for listening and looking at my newsletter. Bye!